You're listening to Masters Decoded podcast series. I'm your host and the chief decoder, Anis Merchant. Through this podcast, I bring in guests who are successful in a different walk of life to decode and map out their careers and journeys with the hope that we gain all our learnings. The world around us is changing exponentially, and how the impact of artificial intelligence, technology, and other socioeconomic factors have either influenced or enhanced my guests' careers. My next guest on today's podcast is Madhav Rathore. Madhav is currently the CEO of an exciting company, the Indian Bucket List. Madhav is a travel and hospitality industry veteran for the last 22 years. He has worked on various projects throughout the Indian subcontinent, from leading special interest tours for the Royal Academy of Arts, London, to managing India's top luxury trains, the Deccan Odyssey and the Maharajas Express. During 2 decades, Madhav enjoyed developing benchmark products, which exposed him to travel trends, tailor-made itineraries, product building, sales, promotions, and operations. The pandemic has hit the hospitality and travel industry hard, and Madhav decided to leave his well paying job to start the Indian Bucket List. The company's vision is to explore India's different and intricate parts and bring India to the world. On his Royal Enfield and his good friend Sudhanshu, a leading photographer with numerous awards under his belt, they are embarking on the journey on 1st October. While the podcast would be released, they would be already on the road. So listen in on how the epic journey was initiated. Hi, Madhav. Welcome to Masters Decoded. Thank you for taking time out. I know you're starting on this journey and taking a time out before such a enormous journey. I'm really thankful for that.
Thank you, Anis, for having me on Masters Decoded. It's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise, and people talk about bucket list. We all have our bucket list. We all have our wish list. But
Yeah,
you've come up with a very interesting piece, which is the Indian bucket list. Uh,
exactly.
so talk more about what is that bucket list, and so that people understand, because your bucket list is very different than what people would typically start forming their bucket list with.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little background about why bucket list and what. On 24th of March, when Mr. Modi announced, in light of COVID-19, he announced lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove home, and for 2 days I was sitting idle. And for me, being comfortable is the most uncomfortable thing.
Ouch.
Though. And I was looking at, the whole country was, the whole human race was under this stress of being locked down. And I saw some people from my industry, posting, and everybody was very unsettled, writing about the losses they will incur. I was at the time, um, I was a product manager, and I was, uh, as part of my portfolio, I had India, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, So when I came home and I saw all these people, and then people were posting on, social sites, Facebook and Instagram and everywhere. And I was having a chat one night with a friend who's a hotelier, and he was literally crying because
Wow.
how to sustain his 12 hotels in the country. And I called him at night and I said, buddy, this is really bad. But we have worked in the industry for more than 2 decades. We've worked as friends. You're a hotelier. I'm a travel agent. So please don't do it in public. And anyway, so then he asked me, so what is your plan, Madhav? And actually, frankly speaking, I had no plan. But his question made me think that actually, what am I doing? That
Hmm.
night, I didn't sleep. And I told him that I will get back to you tomorrow by 1100 hours tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And and I started thinking, and that's when I realized that my dream was to showcase India, and now people won't be coming, and So let's take India to the people so that they can watch what they must visit in India and what all places we have, because it's become very stereotyped that we are selling just the the monuments and the cities and the arts and crafts. It's very monotonous. You look at itineraries from um, travel agents pan India,
Mm-hmm.
and because my specialization was product, and I knew because I travel a lot when we don't have the summers. I don't have much work,
Yep.
and I had opportunity to travel since childhood. So I knew places, I knew stories. I love history. I love architecture, carpets, miniature paintings, all that sort of thing. So I said, let's take India and the stories of India, which have never been, presented to the world.
Mm-hmm.
People know about the saris of India, but how many saris we have? We have more than 500 variety of mangoes to start with. We don't
Wow.
do anything in small numbers, do we?
Even I didn't know that.
So how who was Aurangzeb and who was Tipu Sultan? But Tipu Sultan people know as a ruler, but as a man, who was he? What was his life like? So I decided that the weavers of India, the paintings of India, all crafts of India needs people need to know this, and from a different perspective altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's when I came up. Okay, let's make a bucket list for people of the world, because I have always believed in since my childhood. I have always believed in we always say Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam.
Hmm.
So I felt, and I firmly believed in that. The slok or the couplet is, Ayam bandhurniyati ganana lagu chetasam udara charitanam tu vasudhev kutumbakam, which literally means the whole world is one single family.
Yep.
So, yeah, and I've always felt like that. So this Indian bucket list is for people who love to travel, and also for the generation next, because these this generation next is very important. And I feel the murals of Ajanta,
Yeah.
or the Royal Bengal tiger of India, it is not only for Indians. It belongs to every child in this world, and they must see it. Some children can't come here
Yep.
be- because of COVID, or other situations. But let's take this so that they are proud that Grand Canyon. I walked from Vegas to Grand Canyon, and I felt that because I was walking alone.
Hmm.
And when I arrived there, it made me very proud that we have Grand Canyon,
Hmm.
and so it's like world heritage, real
Right.
world heritage, and that's what it means. And that's when I decided to make this documentary on 26th of March 2020, that let us take this to the world.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, and you know, it takes a big heart to actually give up everything to do what you're doing. And what I understand, you actually had a well-paying job. You have a
Yes.
family, and
Yes.
to give up everything to do
Yeah.
this is just uh, it's a dream come true for somebody like me as well.
Yes.
You know, you I know you're going to cover this on a bike.
Yes.
I'm a biker too, by
Yeah.
the way.
Wow.
And I
What do you
also have a
drive?
dream that one day I would do a road trip. Unfortunately, my health, I have a back problem. I can't sit on a bike for that long.
Yeah.
But if it's not bike, I'll take my car. But to your point, India has so many great things to watch and see,
Yes.
and it's unimaginable. And you're right, there's been a lot of stereotyping which has been done, specifically travel and tourism in India.
Yes.
People think about Taj, about India, the people think about Goa in India, people think about Kerala in India,
Yes.
and they dread India because there's too much of traffic, too much of pollution, too much of
Yes.
poverty. But actually it is not. There's so
No.
many goodness out there,
Yes.
and every city has their own troubles. It's not just in India.
Yeah.
Uh, It's just great what you're doing. So you start your journey in few days now.
Yes,
Uh,
on 1st of October.
1st of October, and thank you. I know it's less days left, so there will be a lot of planning going on in doing that.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that planning. How are you planning to do? What is the route you're taking first? I believe right now you're in Jaipur, so how would that route start, and where would you go all about?
So when I decided to do this, like in cricket also, boys love their home ground.
Yes.
And you're comfortable. So I thought, let's start it with Rajasthan,
Mm-hmm.
and I made an itinerary
Okay.
which will cover. It's a very well planned, in depth, and very intricately woven itinerary to showcase, because my idea is to showcase stories more, because people don't actually remember. If I say Mahatma Gandhi came in 1915, people would remember it. But if I give too many dates, people won't remember it. What people remember is the stories behind. And my whole itinerary is based upon that.
Mm-hmm.
So other than just the major cities, I also included very small and unknown places, like, or little known, let me say it, little known places like Viratnagar, where very few people are aware that there is a Buddhist site and there is a pillar there, Ashoka, and there are places, so that's how. So we are starting from Jaipur.
Mm-hmm.
First we will I uh, From Jaipur, I'm going to talk about the water harvesting system, how it worked in good old days, and why. And then we move on to a place called Kishangarh. Kishangarh is known for its miniature painting, because in Rajasthan they had nine schools of painting, with seven prominent school and two sub schools. So
Mm.
uh, I have to remind people that what is Kishangarh School. So Banithani, when you say Banithani, people, it clicks. So that's what I will include. Then we are going towards moving Ajmer. So when little stories like how Shah Jahan and Jahangir incident, and how they became close again, and then going into southern part of the state
Mm-hmm.
towards Udaipur, crossing the Aravali Hills, talking about Aravali Hills, the volcanic rocks, and how that area, some of the part, was underwater for millions of years, and before the water receded. And then we will do camping. I'm saying I'm very proud, very happy that some of our hotels,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, I have handpicked hotels, and they have decided to host me, and I will
Nice.
do. But I'm not actually taking every hotel which offers me, because the hotel which I can recommend has to be very good quality, and that place, because trust, when you talk about places in particular, people need to have your trust on that.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part, for me, as the Indian bucket list ethos. And then we will be talking to people. I will be highlighting the wars which happened and how it happened. On the site, we will stand and showcase. Then Udaipur, the school of, other than school of painting, how there is a shop which makes the best gajar ka halwa,
Mm.
and they consume about 16 liters of, they use 16 liters of ghee. Once that ghee is finished, the shop is finished.
Wow.
Uh, so
16 liters.
they, they shut down.
Okay.
They, they start at 6 and they shut down at 11, when most of the other shops are just beginning to open.
Wow.
So things like that, and why Gangor boat was made. People see Gangor boat on Lake Pichola, but how? Why was it made? And that's when then we moved to Mount Abu, Sirohi. Sirohi is the place where the best swords have been made since 14th century, and these are the people who have been making them. The Jain temples uh, of Mount Abu, and then Pali, and then the rural area where
Mm.
Vishnu, yeah. And Jodhpur, from Jodhpur we go to a small place called Ocean and Kitchen. Kitchen is a place where we have these migratory birds called domicile cranes.
Yes. In fact, there
And
is a documentary done recently where they talk about Khichi. I was
yes,
actually watching it on Netflix, I believe so,
yeah,
where they talk about these birds and how the villagers actually are earning livelihood because of those birds, because there's
exactly.
a lot of funding coming into that village from all
Yes,
around the world where
yes,
they are offering grains. And I was watching, there is this elderly gentleman, on his back he picked up a big gunny bag of grains, and then he
yes,
spreads, and I couldn't really understand what is he doing. And
yeah,
then suddenly you see these birds coming around. It was
yes,
beautiful. uh,
yes,
and they call it the they call it the paris, or the angels who've come into that ground, to that village. And that Khichi is a very remote village in part of
very, very,
in Rajasthan.
yes. It looks very ordinary when you drive through it, but
Yes.
only if you know.
Yes.
And that's what the bucket list is. And these domicile cranes come there to eat salt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is to show and also to encourage children
Hmm.
of the country that what all they can learn and what all they can do, and self-sufficiency is also very very important. And then we go to Jaisalmer, and people know about Jaisalmer, but there is a place called Kuldhara
Hmm.
and the village of Kuldhara, and then also the nomadic life of people. Also talking about a beautiful textile and a way of dyeing is the azrak, that how azrak work is done and how a particular pattern is, a young girl, unmarried girl would wear that color and that pattern, and that man would wear such and such color, such and such pattern on his wraparound skirt, like a lungi.
Hmm.
And there are, so these are very intimate things. And then we move to Bikaner, going to Gajner, that how wildlife was protected by the Maharajas. And there were 40,000, approximately 40,000 tigers in India the day British left India. But and now we have 1170, something like that.
Wow.
And so, talking about very facts, and then coming into Bikaner, there's a lot of art. Like a gentleman from Bikaner holds a Guinness Book of World Record for painting the smallest tree, miniature art. But it has, you'll be shocked. I'll be disclosing it on my video, that how many leaves and how it is done. So we will showcase that as well. How Maharaja of Bikaner had actually sold camels to British during the Egypt war,
Wow.
and so things like that. Very intimate stories. Then from Bikaner we come into Nagaur and Shekhawati. Shekhawati, what is beautiful. Everybody talks about um, these beautiful frescoes, but these frescoes are testimony to the period when they were painted, like this, and how it was done. The process is called alagila, wet on wet. That's what the process is of making it. And because most of these beautiful mansions we call haveli here
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, were owned by tradesmen, and because they didn't want to spend a lot of money, and they were influenced by the Pietra Dura work which the Mughals had got to
Uh-huh.
India. So this is the way they decorated their houses with natural material, and they painted. You can see a railway engine, so railway engine or an aircraft or a gun, and that these things tell us the period, that because all the guns, there's not a single a 12 gauge, they're always matchlocks, so you can imagine
Wow.
that how you have to be able to read it. And that's yeah. And from Shekhawati we come into area which is the rural side of Jaipur, on the eastern side, Samod, and then we go to Siriska and Virat Nagar. is what I was talking to you about. The the Buddhist side,
Yeah.
and then the forest of Siriska, and palace of Alva, and what why, because it is a very peculiar architectural design,
Mm-hmm.
and the water systems, how important harvesting water was, and how important temples are, or the mosques are, and things like that. India, reflecting India, its essence. And then we finish from Sariska. We go to a small place called D, which, can you imagine, these Jat rulers had actually they took this palace,
Okay.
entire palace, marble palace, and they brought it down to Bharatpur. And when they conquered the Mughal fortresses, and they brought the entire marble palace. It's
Wow.
huge, and then not only that, but they built a fountain system where
Okay.
you could, and there are, it's not hundreds, it's literally thousands, and plus heads, these fountain heads, and you could monitor the color, because if the Maharaja was feeling, that today I love pink,
Hmm.
in front of my balcony, and for my wife it should be yellow. So that is how it was planned. There's a huge water reservoir from which the pipeline goes, each individual fountain head, and it could be much. So things like that, and then Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, and from there we go to Karoli, the importance of the temple there. Then we go to Ranthambore, and how Ranthambore, represents the the era,
Hmm.
when the India, when the country was changing, when the entire region was changing. Our ethos were evolving. I won't say changing, but evolving, acceptance, and how the Mughal emperor had given it as a gift to the Maharaja of Jaipur,
Hmm.
the fortress Ranthambore, which is one of the most fascinating, architecturally, design-wise, defense-wise, from all points of view. This fortress is outstanding, and the tigers, of course, that's the charm of Ranthambore. Uh, and then we go to the southern part of the country, Kota, Bundi, uh, and Bundi, Kota and Bundi. Everybody knows about the fortresses and the paintings, but how many people know about a little village called Kothun, where the weavers from Mysore had come, and they were settled there, and they started producing this, what we now, earlier it was called Mesuria,
Mm-hmm.
because the weavers had come from Mysore, but now it is called Kota Doria.
Okay.
They make this beautiful. I would, whenever you feel like, you come to Jaipur, and I would love to show you this. This is
Sure.
something very special. Are you a good pillion rider?
Oh yes, I am.
I'll get you a nice seat for your back.
No, no,
But
no. I can. So it's basically more than 3 to 4 hours. The back starts
yeah,
giving up. That's what it is.
okay,
It was
okay,
an accident which I had. Not an accident on the bike, but I. It was raining in Mumbai, and I was walking up a stairs of an ATM, and
yeah,
when I was coming down, it was slippery, and I flew in the air,
yeah.
slipped and flew in the air, and I landed up on my spine, and I cracked
Oh,
my caucus spine. So
how did?
that's what acts
No,
up. It's not.
complex.
It's part of your body which is useless. You can't mend it, and you can't do away with it.
Yes,
But it pains when you sit for a long time. But anyways,
I can. I'm sure we can find a
a way
place
to
where
do it.
we can.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
for sure. When there
and
is a will, and if there is a person like you who is
yeah,
so resourceful and has these stories to tell, when you was talking all about this, I could actually
yeah,
picture it, literally in my mind. If somebody can just, somebody who's going to listen to this podcast and they just close your eyes and just listen to what you've said in the last 3 to 4 minutes, I'm sure
yeah.
they'll be able to picture it. It's
You
so
know,
beautifully recited what you've done.
I love our country, and I think my wife tells me that I have this. Whenever I'm asked about India, I'm so madly in love with this. And I think mother is my actual mother is India, and the one who gave me birth is was the medium chosen, and I'm very happy that my mother nurtured
Nice.
that, and my grandmother nurtured love for the country. And yeah, so I think I get this verbal diarrhea thing when
No, no,
people ask
it
me
was
about it.
well recited, sir. So you said we in this entire conversation when you were reciting the story. Who's we? Who all are there with you in this journey?
I have, because this is a concept where I can't afford to give money to people right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came up with this, people from my team who had worked with me,
Mm-hmm.
and they had nothing, and they volunteered. They said, "You can't do it alone." And like Sudhanshu,
Okay.
the guy he's really good.
Okay.
Sudhanshu is a cinematographer who's been nominated for international,
Wow.
award, and he has claimed quite a few of awards. So he said, we in India, how we call Dada. He's much younger, but we are very very close to each other. And he said, Dada, you can't do this alone. It's too dangerous, Corona and everything. I said, even if it was not Corona, who would do it? Let's do it. And he said, I'm leaving my job and I'm driving to you. It was very emotional for me. This
Wow.
gentleman arrived last night about 10:30, and he drove 2,400 kilometers from Bangalore and to Jaipur, and Mushir, another guy who is also part of my team, and Akanksha, who worked with me on special projects, and there are people, and of course my son who's taken charge. He calls himself, I am this, I'm the in charge for the public domains and public platforms where and what will be shared.
Nice.
And this is something, this has developed. Where there is a will, there's a way.
No, and if the idea and the it's not just the will, it's the idea, the intent,
Yes,
everything is in the right heart or in the
yes,
right place,
yes.
uh, magic happens. And the magic is people would align, destiny would align, things will
Yes,
come through. And I think that's beautiful what's happening.
it has actually. And I'm very thankful to the people I've worked for as well.
Hmm.
And I served in, this is my 23rd year, literally starting in few days' time, it will be my 23rd year.
Wow.
And people who actually gave me opportunities, I will always remember them and how they not only taught me, but gave me that sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was really nice of them to trust me. And so when all this happened, I decided that and named this journey uh, the Indian bucket list, giving back. And
Right.
and now I've I have taken a chunk out of my savings, quite a bit, and I invested that uh, just to showcase my motherland, uh, because it has been done in commercial way many times. But
Hmm.
let's take the unsanitized version of India to everybody.
Beautiful. You are doing this not just to showcase India, but there is something deeper also which you're trying to manage and I would say overcome is
Yes,
the travel industry in India.
yes,
And travel industry as a whole has been severely impacted because of the pandemic. And
yes,
I know a lot of my friends, people whom I knew, people whom I actually used to engage because I used to travel a lot. They've called up and said, literally, we've lost a job. We don't have livelihood these
yes,
days.
yes,
And India as a tourist destination has always been in the lower priority for many. And the
yes.
amount of tourists we get, tourism is not, people think that it's a big business in India, but it is not if you compare to the neighboring
No,
countries which we have.
not at all.
So you're also trying to manage that. And as you have started building these relationships with these hotels, uh,
Yes,
somewhere you have that intention also to help the overall industry as a whole because you've lived in this industry for so many years.
it's
So talk.
it's actually a very emotion driven mission for me. Um, to be true, I was trying to keep it myself, but now as you've touched the topic, I had calls from people who were working in my team, and some of them were literally very emotional that how their lives have changed and there's nowhere to go back, and families were suffering, and that made me think about it. That let's do something. Let's create something which brings back the travel to India, and in such a way which is appreciated by the world.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so that is at the core of the entire concept of the Indian bucket list, giving back.
Hmm.
You can't just harvest mangoes from a tree. You got to look after the tree.
So beautifully said. Yes.
Yeah,
Now, you know, while it's so exciting, it is emotional, but it's going to be physically daunting, uh,
yeah,
the entire journey.
yes,
So, how have you prepared for it for the last 5, 6 months? Because sitting on a bike,
yeah,
it's going to be cold also. Now,
yeah,
when you're starting in October 1st, it's
yeah.
going to be cold in the parts which you're going to go, because people think Rajasthan is hot, but it can get
Yeah,
really cold in the evening, right? So,
yes,
and if you're going to cover, you're going to ride in the evening as well. So, how
yeah.
have you prepared mentally and physically for this entire journey?
To be true, on 27th, well, 26th, I decided. 27th, I bought a bicycle,
Okay.
and I also started going for long walks with my son. We
Mm-hmm.
we cover, I cover about on weekends. I ride my bicycle about 50 to 60 kilometers,
Wow,
and I walk with my son. We walk about 10 kilometers a day, uh,
that's nice.
starting very early, and then because he's into he's very aware of what he's eating and what he's doing physically. So we have some what we call contraptions
Mm-hmm.
we made at home, and so that we can do exercise. And he's my actually trainer, who helps me that the areas where I should be. He's very aware what he's doing, and it's nice to be with my best buddy. Yeah.
It's just an amazing father and son relationship which you have developed also.
Yes.
And before this podcast started, you gave me a little bit insight that he, when you spoke to him about this entire venture which you are starting up,
Yeah.
uh, he graciously accepted, and not just accepted, but said, "Give me a job, Dad. Do not
Yeah.
make me part of the company."
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
So uh, as I said, on 24th, I couldn't sleep, and he was in his room sleeping, and I just said I was just sitting there watching him, and because he's a wonderful man and very responsible, and he woke up, and I said to him, he said, "What has happened?" And I said, "Nothing has happened. I've decided to do something." He said, and after listening to me about my entire thing, and he said to me, "Dan, place a date on the calendar you're going to leave home." And I learned something from my son that day, and that he's growing, and he's doing MBA from Mumbai, Kejismaya.
Hmm.
And I could see a very fine young man who had he's very organized, and he said, "Let's get on with it, Dad. Not tomorrow. We'll start working on it today." And we started structuring Tibu, as I like to call it, the short for the Indian bucket list, Tibu.
Hmm.
And he helped me engaging the modern tools and what all is required, and he helped me literally. Even he helped how we started on. Actually, we launched our Instagram on 2nd of July,
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong, and we were only two people. I was the creator; he was the first follower, and he said, "How will we increase?" Because nowadays the numbers are very important.
That is correct.
So, so I said, "You know what? I have 18 brothers. cousins,
Wow.
including my cousins, and
Okay.
I have my aunts and uncles and everybody. And we give a task to everybody to get me 10 followers.
Okay.
And he said, let's make it 1,000, and then uh, people will come and people will. And I was very surprised the way he planned. Uh, when we reached 50, we were having organic growth of about 6 to 7 a day. Now
Hmm.
we are somewhere 35 to 40 a day.
Okay. That,
So, so that's the planning thing. Yeah.
yeah. And you also have a bike, which is Royal
Yes.
Enfield, which is a pride of India. Uh,
Ah,
from a bike perspective, I do have one, not the
yeah.
Himalayan.
What do you have? What do
Uh,
you drive?
so I have two actually. One is
Yeah.
Harley Davidson, and the other one is the Royal Enfield, the
Yeah.
350cc.
Yeah.
Uh, so I do ride both of them. I know you as a biker would understand. We've given our bikes our names. So my Harley is known as a Phoenix, uh,
Yeah.
and my Enfield is my baby. I call her the baby. But
Yeah.
no, this is. So what? Have you named your bike? Is she of?
Yes, I've in my family we've always had bikes. My grandfather, who was Second War veteran, and then my father, he bought her 1971 when they made the last one in England before coming to Chennai, and it's a bike which has always attracted me.
Hmm,
When I traveled outside India, I had the pleasure. My friends had, just as you said, Harley Davidson is a cult bike.
yeah,
It's a beautiful power,
yeah.
and Ducatis and Hondas and Yamahas. I used to have, you know how as boys that was our. You are
Yes.
a biker, so I can share this with you.
Yes.
Before even we bought or could afford a motorbike, our walls of our rooms were full of these Minzas and
That is
all
correct.
that. And I inherited one from my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
which was I think 1958, British made, and then my father gave me, and then I said, okay, let's buy one. So I bought my first, uh, Royal Enfield standard
Okay.
in 1997.
Hmm.
And then my son, who was going to college, and I had promised him that on when you go to the college, I will give you a bike. And my nephew, who was playing hockey, ice hockey for Czech Republic, he wanted a particular color, a
Wow.
color sea green. So we bought actually, we ended up buying three Royal Enfields. One was the sea green classic 500.
Mm-hmm.
We, then for my son we bought a 350 classic silver, and I bought myself a classic silver 500.
Okay. But you're
But when
now
it got
doing this ride, you're doing a Himalayan, right? You're not doing the
yes,
classic.
so I was looking at options, and I had very limited money. I had only about 20 lakhs,
Okay.
and because that's what I can afford,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so. Uh, I decided, and you have to look at the areas you go. So if I invest in a truck, it will be too expensive and it will exhaust my fund.
Yeah.
And but the bike, Royal Enfield Himalayan 400 11cc engine BS6 Bharat 6,
Yeah.
it gives me it's a powerful bike, but it also gives me freedom that I can take it where I like it, whether it's a road journey, or if it's off track.
Yeah.
So I could maneuver my bike or tackle any kind of terrain, and that gave me, so that's why I decided it's a nice bike, powerful bike, and Royal Enfield, trustworthy bike makers, motorcycle makers, made like a gun, literally.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was behind choosing Royal Enfield Himalayan. Yeah.
Sure. Are they sponsoring your ride or they are not?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not known to them,
Okay.
and I haven't written because you see, my the whole concept is, if it's an easy road, your story is not going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I will reach out to them for sure that if they can just take care of maintenance, because that is a lot of a lot of money draining thing for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I will write to them that in brotherhood that you are an Indian company, and let's contribute something towards the nation and bring it back. So I will definitely write to the company to help me.
Sure. And I hope they listen to this podcast and they organically reach out to you rather than you reaching out to them.
Yeah, and yeah,
Good. Now, you know, when I was hearing the itinerary, and I want to go back to the itinerary,
yeah,
if you're going to cover so much, how
yeah.
much time is it going to take? Is it month, 3 months, 6 months? What's
It's a 60-day
okay?
60-day tour,
Okay.
which what I'm looking at.
Okay.
But I'm not keeping it into 60 days because I'll be talking to locals as well,
Yeah.
maintaining my distance and everything what is required. But I will still be engaging with locals because what locals can tell you,
Mm-hmm.
it's and they know about their village or their city, something. So I'm expecting that there will be a week or so added to the final when I complete it. But I intend to finish this journey in about 65, maximum 65 to 70 days.
Wow. Now, talking a little bit further, it would take a lifetime to cover actually India, and probably lifetime is also not enough because
Lifetime for India,
yeah,
it's not enough.
it's not
You know,
enough.
it's
I
not
don't
enough.
know if it's enough for any human being, even if they start young. They think about that. I have heard a lot of stories. People have taken a year break to see India. People have taken 2 years to see India, and then after they've done that, they still feel that they've not seen it enough.
Yeah, yeah, I feel. I mean, I've been traveling for. I started traveling at the age of 7 when my father was, who retired as chief engineer for the state of Rajasthan,
Wow.
and so I used to look forward to the transfers. Every 3 to 4 years, we would get transfer. My mom used to hate it. I must tell you, because poor thing, she had to pack the house,
Yeah,
and I was running around the house. Hey, we are going somewhere. In those days there were no cars
that is
given to
correct.
engineers. So my father was given a jeep,
Okay.
uh, a jeep, a proper jeep. So my father had made it into, the side flaps were out, only the roof was there. And so that we children could look. And I used to look forward to these transfers. And so I could see a different region of Rajasthan because his job was mainly Rajasthan,
Right.
public health engineering department, and he's a wonderful man. And he gave us the opportunity to learn about how different dialects, why the turban changes, why food changes, and he used to exchange. He used to share his ideas, and that's how. So I've been traveling since the age of 7 as a proper traveler, and I think that's when I got my travel bug. And I'm what 49 now,
Hmm.
and yeah, so it's fun. But I there's very small part of India which I shall do it someday on tribal journey giving back. There's a small part in Odisha which I haven't seen, and there is a small part on our Mizoram
Mm-hmm.
which I haven't seen so far. So the people will also give me opportunity to see that part.
Sure. And hopefully, if I can join you, I would love to join that road
I
trip.
would love that. Are you a good cook?
Yes, I am. Definitely. I can cook on anything. In fact, I've had parties and get together with friends where we had planned of a barbecue. It's a story. It's a fun story. We were
Yeah,
actually doing a bachelor's party for one of our friends, and
yeah,
he had requested that, Anis, can you do barbecue? I said sure.
yeah,
But the place we were going to, and they said, would you have a barbecue? And they said, yeah, yeah, we have everything. We have coal and everything. We'll arrange there. We go to this
yeah.
place. It's Alibag. I'm sure you know in
Oh,
Bombay.
yes. What a
Uh,
beautiful area.
yeah. So we go to this. We had hired a private villa there, And he
Yeah.
says, "Sorry, we don't have barbecue." I said, "We had specifically," and I had marinated stuff. I had bought a lot of stuff with me, and I go there and I said, and my friend who was getting married, I was like, "Okay, we need to solve for this." So what I did is I found bricks lying around. I started
Yeah.
making a conventional, you can say, in those good
Yeah.
old days where people would just put bricks around. So I made
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh,
We Indians are good with contraptions.
yes, so we made that. I built that. I took
Yeah.
some branches down.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and they were a
Yeah.
little bit wet, but I said, okay, I'll figure it out. So I started scraping the top part of the stems so that I
Yeah.
could remove the wetness out of it. And
Yes.
I cooked on, I lit up the fire.
Open fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
How wonderful.
cooked over it, and yeah, I was able to make stuff for him, and he was all happy, and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
They really loved it. So yeah, that's my
Oh,
little bit of I can hack up cooking very
okay
well.
then. Okay then. Here's the deal, buddy.
Yeah,
I, I will chop. I will cut. I will peel, and I will cook.
sure.
Okay. But what you have to do is make roti for us.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
That's going to be a task for sure. But I'm a turned vegan, so
Yeah.
I make these fake chicken. It's called the unchicken out of
Oh yeah.
Satan.
Yeah.
So because of that, you have to learn how to knead dough. It's actually
Okay.
made out of dough. So yeah,
Oh
I
wow.
know now how to knead dough. So making a roti would not be a problem.
Huh.
Yeah.
So if you learn that, I promise, uh, I will also wash the utensils
No, I
if you
can do
can
that too. I started
proceed.
my career in hospitality, so I know how to wash and I know how to take care of stuff.
Ah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's a real traveler talking now. Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
I know we are on top of our hour, but and I know you are planning. You're in the midst of planning, and there are only few days of, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. But thinking about what you've done, if somebody really wants to do this, and I'm sure a lot of us, including me, are thinking, just give up everything and do what our passion is, and you're doing what your passion is. What would your advice be to such individuals?
What has happened? What happens normally is we start thinking and only let our mind do the thinking, and that's where we go wrong.
Hmm.
First, you have to listen to who you are and what you want. Listen to your heart, as we say,
Right.
hearts of heart, and heart of hearts, and because the heart will always drive you in direction where you need to go. When you engage mind before you engage heart, if the mind starts putting questions in front of you, what if, and that's not how it works for me. I have been I've always been driven by my heart. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I do engage mind, but at a later stage when it comes to planning. But I'm driven by what I have learned,
Okay.
and when my heart tells me do it, and I do it. And uh, I do engage tools and everything, but that comes much later. One has to listen to what there's so many. If you Google gut feeling,
Okay.
intuition,
Nice.
it will tell you what it is, and the quotes, and you will find yeah. So that's how I'm a person driven by my heart, my gut feeling, and also I believe in the concept of oneness, not duality, but oneness. And that oneness and heart drives me to what I do. Yeah, it has helped me.
Wow. Beautifully said, sir. And if people want to be part of this journey which you are embarking on,
Mm.
and they want to observe, they want to see, a lot of people have canceled their travel plans, but I think you would be doing a favor to them by showing India through your lens, through your eyes. And I'm sure your
Yes.
friend Sudhanshu would be doing a good job. He's an
Oh,
amazing
yes,
photographer. I've seen
yes,
some of his pictures.
yes.
So, how would people be able to align to what you're doing or see the entire journey? What are those platforms available for them to do that?
You know what Rajiv Gandhi gave India? This technology, Mr. Sempetroda helped him. And what we have right now is the power of internet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use it as a tool. Now we have state of art. I mean, iPhone camera
Right.
takes such beautiful 4K quality, We have invested in, really a camera, but internet has helped us. And now you have YouTube, you have IGTV, Instagram TV, and these are the platforms which we should use to our advantage to showcase what we want. And we have this freedom, which is really beautiful. I think one of the achievements of human race till today is providing and this technology which we have come out with, that you can access information
Yeah.
just fingertips, and you can actually release. They're such lovely filmmakers. So that's how I'm going to share my journey. Every Friday, we will compile one episode, and every Friday, because being Indian and Bollywood driven man,
Yeah.
uh, we all are. So I decided, let's release this every Friday,
Okay.
and every Friday there will be an episode, so that along the way when we are driving, we have enough episodes to release every Friday.
Beautiful.
So this 60-day itinerary will actually translate into about 65, 70 episodes.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
That's beautiful. There's a lot of binge watching I'm sure people would be aligned to. So these are on YouTube, on Instagram. I know your Instagram handle is the Indian Bucket List. Your YouTube
Yes,
is also the Indian Bucket List. Is that
Indian
correct?
bucket list. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Great. And I'm sure my listeners would be all signing up and will all become your followers. Madhav, thank you for your precious time. I know you are in the midst of planning an amazing journey. So, best of luck
Yeah.
with that. Be safe,
Thank you. Thank you.
and be in touch with all of us through the channels which you have. And I'm sure all of us would be eagerly waiting for those Fridays
Yeah.
as these episodes come out. So, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for your time.
I'll just take 1 minute of yours, Anish.
Sure, sure,
Uh,
please.
I really want to thank you from bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity. When you sent me that message that let's do something like this, I had literally no idea who you were, and you were so encouraging, and you were so full of warmth, and you shared so much with me, with what you do and how you do it. And I was, when we chatted first, we were complete strangers, and today I feel that I have earned a friend, and also now I
Likewise.
know that you are a seasoned traveler with a sore back if you drive more than 4 hours. So I will take care of that when we drive together.
Definitely. And I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Th-
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stay safe, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening in. And we close yet another episode of Masters Decoded. If you've enjoyed the episode, please, you can help us out by sharing it on social media. I would personally appreciate that. It's how we can reach more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the more awesome guests I can get in touch and convince to participate in these conversations that are a joy to have for me, and I hope they are a joy for you to listen as well. You can also help a lot leaving reviews on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Reviews are surprisingly helpful in supporting the podcast to get to more listeners. If this episode has intrigued you, I would request you to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date and get notified to the future episodes. With that, I bid you and see you in the next episode.